Chapter 1 Prologue. When I was young, well, I guess I wasn't necessarily that young. Let me correct that. Right around the time I began maturing a little, I found myself enjoying anime containing magical girls. I was captivated by those beautiful, flashy girls. The thrilling scenes of them defeating their villains, the stunning productions, and their frilled, flowing dresses. Basically, I loved everything about them. Kids at school often teased me and called me a girl whenever I talked about it. But I knew the truth. The same kids who mocked me would find any excuse to turn on their TVs when the shows aired so they could excitedly watch those same girly shows. I bet they even mimicked the transformation poses from the anime in front of the TV like I did. The witch queen of reality and despair, Mars. With the power of the sun. Princess Sun. Return to your original form. Swallow card. It's been forever since I last heard them. But I can still remember the lines perfectly. Though I might hate magical girls now, the intense love I held for them in my younger years is etched into my memory in a way that's hard to forget. All of that aside, there was a rather special incident that occurred to me. Someone who enjoyed anime with magical girls and mimicked their poses. As I sat in front of the TV in the living room, the screen began to crackle loudly before suddenly turning off. What the hell? When I tried to get up from the sofa, would you like to form a contract with me and become a magical girl? Poyo. Something white and loud appeared in front of me. Heek. Startled by its sudden appearance, I fell back onto the sofa. Am I dreaming? This is reality, Poyo. You have been chosen as the magical girl of justice. A white-furred, ferret-like creature floated in the air right in front of me and gave me a big smile. I knew it couldn't have been a ferret, though ferrets can't talk. As I observed the ferret, the ferret-like creature, with a quizzical look, a certain pair of words embedded themselves deep into my mind. Magical girl. Magical girl? I immediately responded, as if possessed by those words. Yes, Poyo, the creature chirped. I'm a boy, though? That doesn't matter, Poyo. Anyone can become a magical girl, as long as they have a heart that loves justice. Poyo. I won't permanently become a girl, right? Only when you're transformed, Poyo. A magical girl's true identity is top secret. After all, I'd haphazardly started asking questions at the mention of becoming a magical girl. But things didn't feel real at all. I was surely dreaming, right? I slowly raised my left hand until it covered my vision. You weren't supposed to feel pain in your dreams, right? I twisted the skin on the back of my hand and felt a sharp pain shoot through me. Maybe this isn't a dream? Are you maybe thinking that this is a dream, Poyo? The creature asked. I absent-mindedly nodded in response. Then why don't you try transforming once? You'll see that this isn't a dream, Poyo. It was undoubtedly strange. Every fiber of my being was sending me warnings. Though my life on Earth was relatively short at the time, I clearly felt something was off. For some inexplicable reason, though, I couldn't let go of the words, magical girl. That's why. How do I transform? I asked. All you have to do is imagine your new form with a sincere heart, Poyo. Thankfully, I didn't have to do any cringy lines or strange poses to transform. I put my two hands together and desperately wished for it, the magical girl of my dreams. I remembered an anime I had seen somewhere before. I remembered a few sketches I had glanced at. I remembered a novel I had read. I even remembered some random posts I had come across on the internet. An image came to mind of silver hair, crimson eyes, a short stature, an uneven, twin-tailed hairstyle with a pretty ribbon, and a long skirt dress that didn't reveal any skin. Maybe it seems like a detailed request, but I'm sure everyone has an ideal magical girl form within their hearts, right? As if she were being perfected with each passing moment, my image of her grew increasingly vivid in my mind. She went from a simple sketch to a detailed drawing, then into a doll, and finally into a living person. The silver-haired, red-eyed magical girl reached out her hand to me, and the moment her small hand touched my chest, wind started to swirl around me with overwhelming strength. The gusts would have made it hard for anyone to remain standing, and they only grew more intense. What incredible mana, Poyo! The small, white furball that repeated Poyo also seemed to be swept away by the winds, spinning upward with the gusts before vanishing. With its absence, silence fell. Though everything around me remained still, perhaps because the winds were not real, they grew fierce once more, obscuring everything in my sight. Poyu! The loud furball's voice slowly grew quieter before disappearing entirely, and I was left alone in silence with the magical girl. Two expressionless pairs of eyes exchanged glances with one another. The short magical girl stood silently, watching and seemingly waiting for me. What would happen if I held her hand? Noticing her small, gloved hand still on my chest, I placed my own hand over hers. Her hand was so much smaller than mine that my rather small hand was more than enough to cover it. Suitable candidate recognized. Her voice was as cute as I had imagined. That girlish voice that could only be found in TV shows continued. Now imprinting. Her hand on my chest circled clockwise until it completed a full loop, and then her crimson eyes focused on me, seeming as if they could pierce through me. After a couple of seconds of looking at me, she spoke. I pray that my past, current, and future luck are with you as well. Was it just another step of the imprinting process? I continued to watch, awestruck, and the magical girl moved her hand one final time. With that final movement, she transformed into particles of light and scattered into the wind. The light particles that once made up the magical girl flowed into me and surrounded me in blinding luminescence. Wrapped in light, my body slowly morphed into the slender frame of a magical girl. Sparkles of light clumped together and took form over my naked body. First, the light formed underwear, followed by white stocking. Then a completely white, long one-piece dress appeared. A red skirt and blue coat flowed over the dress. And finally, black boots and blue gloves appeared over my feet and hands. With my outfit complete, I finally touched down on the floor. When I instinctively reached out with my right hand, a golden hammer appeared in it. I immediately knew it would be the weapon I wielded for the rest of my magical girl life. I looked up and spotted a shining gift of light floating above my head. It was a semi-transparent, wing-shaped ribbon. That was definitely the final step in the magical girl transformation. Normally, the magical girl would shout their name at the end, but since I had never done something like that before, I hesitated to open my mouth. Thankfully, the name shouting didn't seem to be a necessary step, and the light surrounding me soon disappeared. It's a success, Poyo. You understand now, right? This isn't a dream, Poyo. The white furball appeared in front of me again after my transformation ended. It was right. I definitely wasn't in a dream. The magical girl I had met felt too real. Now that you've transformed, I should tell you what you need to do. More importantly, I needed to get to the mirror. Seeing how I had transformed was much more important than whatever the weird creature was saying. Please listen to me, Poyo. I continued to ignore it and raced toward the bathroom. I wasn't originally a girl, after all, so why would there be a mirror in my room? I quickly turned the bathroom handle and entered, only to be greeted by my reflection. A silver-haired, red-eyed girl staring back at me in the mirror. I still couldn't believe it. I raised my right hand, only to see my reflection raise its hand to follow suit in the mirror. I pulled on my cheek, only to see the magical girl in the mirror pull on her cheek. A numbing pain soon followed. It was real. I had really become a magical girl. How could you just go off on your own, Poyo? What do I need to do now? I asked. Gather cards? Fix a broken magic formula? Help people? Excited to do some magical girl-like things, I quickly grabbed the floating furball and began shaking it. Poyo? Poyu? The white furball let out a strange cry in shock. It seemed that I was too excited. I took a deep breath to calm myself before gently letting it go. Tell me, I'm sure you didn't let me become a magical girl for free, so there must be something you need me to do, right? The furball's eyes swirled for a moment, likely because I had shaken it too much, but it quickly regained focus and opened its mouth. Of course, Poyo. You must defeat the evil demon king that is aiming for this world. Poyo, right? The main villain. That's how things usually went, so I guessed I needed to face a weaker opponent first. Then, Is there an enemy I need to defeat right now? I was just about to tell you, Pollo. With a light wave of its paw, the furball magically opened the sliding door to the veranda and showed me what was happening outside. Look over there, Pollo. It was a bizarre sight, something I had never seen before and couldn't have even imagined. What the hell is that? I wondered. I saw a large robot fighting a massive dinosaur. Something sparkling flew around in the sky, and something kicked from the top of a building and fell. Even at that moment, a 5-colored laser pierced through the sky and through a monster. Am I dreaming? I asked. In just a single day, my mundane, seemingly boring world had turned into a chaotic, jumbled-up nightmare. The other world is invading, Pollo. I want you, as a magical girl, to join the fight against them, Pollo. His request was a bit different from what I was thinking, but it wasn't bad. Essentially, it meant I would be an idol-type magical girl fighting in the open and not the type to fight in secret. Though it seemed like a difficult fight to handle alone, I had seen other people fighting the monsters as well, so I was confident everything would be fine with their help. Knowing I wasn't alone, my fear dissipated and was replaced with a growing sense of elation. I was thrilled to be a magical girl defending the world. I joined the furball on the veranda and made a request. Teach me how to fly. I don't know how, Pollo. What the hell is it saying? I wondered. If not you, then who else would know? Magical girls learn their powers on their own, Pollo. I tried to think of my powers, but nothing came to mind. I still have no idea. That's because you lack training, Pollo. What the fuck? Am I supposed to do some push-ups or something? In the end, I took the elevator down from my apartment. A magical girl using an elevator? What kind of image was that? You just have to run for another minute now, Pollo. That's what you said a minute ago. Tell me in meters. I don't know what those are, Pollo. My faith in the damned furball immediately dropped after that. It hadn't even been an hour. I couldn't believe my partner was someone I couldn't trust. Even though it promised to take me to the monster I needed to defeat, we ran in circles for a while. Thankfully, my new body seemed to be built for physical activity. Running at full speed for several minutes didn't tire me out at all. Go right, Pollo. You're sure this time, right? I yelled. I'm confident, Pollo. You were confident last time too. Thankfully, it seemed to be right that time, and I immediately spotted a black tentacle monster with eyes extending one of its arms toward someone in a slow wriggle. I was repulsed by it, but I instinctively knew at a glance that it was my prey. A sense of hostility and heroism swelled within me. As I let those feelings surge through me, I kicked off the floor and leaped, raising my golden hammer. Hisses. Smoke poured from the back of the golden hammer as a silver cylinder popped out. The sudden transformation surprised me, but then a natural understanding of how the hammer functioned flowed into me. The cylinder was a mana accumulation device that amplified my attacks so I could completely annihilate my opponents. Though the hammer was incredibly sturdy on its own, it was, at its core, no different from any other blunt weapon. What made it special were the multiple functions it contained. How reliable, I thought to myself as I swung the hammer down at one of the monster's eyes. Crush, squirt. I felt the hammer sink into the creature's eye and heard liquid splash out, but I could instinctively tell the monster was still alive. Die! Thunk! The mana-accumulating cylinder thumped back into the hammer, and the accumulated mana instantly flowed into the hammer as power. A loud boom resounded, and the weapon overwhelmed the monster and turned it into sludge. Wham! Well, it would be more appropriate to say that the monster became chunks of flesh. After all, the pieces of meat and blood that I sent flying fell back to the ground. Smack! Chunks of red flesh fell onto me. Maybe it was because the creature had been alive only moments before, but I felt a bit of warmth from them. Can I really be described as a magical girl? What kind of magical girl goes around getting covered in flesh and blood? As I fell deeper into thought, trying to salvage my shattered fantasies, I heard people whispering around me. What is that? Someone asked. According to some online posts I saw, it's crazy in other places as well. Hey, look over there. Isn't that a Power Ranger? Or whatever you call it. I'm a magical girl, you old fuck. With that, my first day as a magical girl came to an end. It really is a funny story. Was I dreaming? My eyes slowly fluttered open in the middle of the night as I woke up from my nightmare. What is it, Pollo? I had a dream about the first day I became this mess. If you can believe it. Seriously, everything was a mess. Has it already been 30 years? The first day? Ah yes, you had a pure heart overflowing with justice then. Haram Lee. Justice, huh? That died within me long ago. More importantly, you're the cause of all of this, I said. Gwa, please don't wring me like a rag. I twisted the nemesis in front of me even harder. It was the cause of it all, the greatest villain in my story. I lost track of how long I continued wringing my partner like a rag. A wish that everyone has. You have a call? Gah. I know. I raised my phone to accept the call. It wasn't a particularly important call, either. A TV show was reaching out to me, wanting me to appear on their show since I was the longest active magical girl. Not interested. Suddenly, I thought of my bank account and its negative balance. It really is a funny story. Basically, the gist of my story is this. If some weird-looking fucking mascot appears in front of you and asks you to become a magical girl, snap its neck and throw it out the window. And when it survives that, it'll at least understand you're not interested, so it's fine. It isn't worth being a magical girl at all. Please listen carefully. When you agree to the contract, you can't back out. I would have quit already if it wasn't for the damned pension. Seriously, I would have quit a long time ago if I could just get that pension.